Kindergarten can actually be pretty expensive, $5,000 per month. Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about the cost of living between China and Canada. So I am going to touch a little bit on the regular topics that people talk about, like housing, transportation, and groceries. But I'm also going to include some topics about kindergarten or education and health insurance, because those things can really make your cost of living go up. So let's begin with housing. So in Nanjing, we rented a place which was 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom for 6,600 RMB, which is about $900 US. So not too bad. It was a big place. I think it's about 1,200 square feet. So we had lots of space. It's bigger than the one here in Vancouver. So in Vancouver, we didn't even look for a 3-bedroom apartment because the 2 bedrooms were expensive enough. So for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment here in Vancouver, in a newer building and in a newer area, you'll pay anywhere from $3,000 to even up to almost $5,000 per month. Vancouver is expensive, especially if you want to live in a nice apartment in a newer area. So in Canada, the housing cost is definitely higher than Nanjing. And the price that we paid in Nanjing, $900 US per month, is even considered a little bit expensive there. I feel you can definitely get great quality, cheaper housing in Nanjing than you can in Vancouver. So number 2, transportation. In China, I feel the public transportation system is amazing. You don't need a car, you can get anywhere you want to go, and it's cheap and affordable, it's convenient. There's tons of taxis, lots of subway lines, it's safe, and I feel like in Vancouver, we do have a decent transportation system, but it's not at the level of China. And so I feel like in Vancouver, it is still necessary to have a car if you don't live directly on the line of like the SkyTrain or in an area where everything is like conveniently all around you. It's definitely harder to go to places without a car here, and taking an Uber and a taxi are pretty expensive, especially compared to China. So in China, we always took Didi if we wanted to go and get groceries or if we wanted to go shopping or whatever, and we rarely paid over 20 RMB, which is under $3 American. In Canada, I don't even think there's such a thing as $3 US to go anywhere if I took a taxi or an Uber. Transportation here is way cheaper than it is in Canada, and especially because in Canada we feel like we need a car here in order to have a comfortable lifestyle. So for transportation in Canada, we also have to pay a car payment plus car insurance, and that can add up for sure. Number 3 is groceries or food. So in China, I feel $500 US per month is very easy to stay within that budget, even as a family of 4. We were able to get groceries, and even if we wanted to eat at a restaurant occasionally, we still pretty much stayed within that budget, unless there was like I don't know, a holiday, or if there was something like expensive, I don't know, maybe like crab, or if there was something special we wanted to eat that was kind of outside of like our monthly usual groceries. But in Canada, $500 US I feel is not enough. Right now, we try to budget for about $1,000 US, including eating out at restaurants, and we're able to do it and still have a pretty comfortable lifestyle and have everything that we need. But it's definitely more expensive to buy groceries here. Canada's groceries have gone up a lot, especially in the last couple of years. Yeah, I feel in Canada we definitely have to kind of have a budget that we think about, where we plan our meals and we know how much we're spending. But in China, we didn't really think about that. So the next topic that I'll talk about is kindergarten in China. In Canada, public kindergarten is free, but in China, public kindergarten can actually be pretty expensive. There's such a wide range of how much you would pay for kindergarten in China, And also it depends on where you're from. So as foreigners, Sophia wouldn't be able to go to some of the public kindergartens. So I'll talk about one of the kindergartens that we had chosen actually before we left, because we thought we were going to be staying there for a long period of time. So for that public kindergarten, it was about $1,000 per month for her to go there. And that was just like a regular public kindergarten that had a good reputation. Yeah, so it's expensive for kids to go to school in China, especially if we wanted to put her in international school. The fees for international school can range anywhere from like $1,000 per month to like $3,000, $5,000 per month. It can get crazy if you want your kids to go to like the top tier international schools in China. One thing though, if you are an English teacher and you work at some of those international schools, sometimes your kids are allowed to go to the school for free and you don't have to pay tuition. So that can also be an option if you're an expat teaching in China and you want your kids to go to an international school. So yeah, I guess it really depends on what type of school your kids will go to and what type of job you have. If there's some kind of a perk that pays for the international school, then your cost of living may be a little bit cheaper than others. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is health and medical insurance. So in China, health and medical insurance are not free. So in Canada, our health and medical insurance is free. It's not technically free because we pay for it through our taxes. So when you go to like the hospital, as long as you're a Canadian citizen or you're eligible for the Canadian healthcare system, you will have healthcare for free typically. That doesn't include dental though. Dental is separate, which makes no sense, but it is what it is. Yeah, dental can be expensive. So typically in Canada, we have an extra healthcare plan, whether you pay for it yourself or it's through your company, and that will pay for the extra cost for some of your dental. Usually in Canada for those plans, if you're going through your company, you'll pay a percentage and then your company will pay the other percentage. So in China, healthcare is not free. I do feel healthcare in China is pretty cheap for like the really basic things, like if you just need a blood test or you just need to see a doctor. I went a couple of times and it was only a couple of US$ to have blood tests done, to go get Chinese medicine, to see a doctor. And that was before I had my health insurance. But if you do need something that's more extensive, like a surgery and stuff like that, it can start to get pretty expensive. So I would highly recommend for everybody to have health insurance if you're traveling in China, whether it's through a travel insurance company, or if you're living in China and working there, you can get health insurance through your employer. So typically if you get health insurance through your employer, you will pay between $200 to $800 per month for your health insurance plan, and typically your employer will pay for a good percentage of that for you. And that health insurance can include paying for some of your surgeries or for maternity care, for your basic health needs. They usually include a portion for dental as well, which is great, and also for your prescriptions. But like anything, you can also get expensive health insurance in China as well. If you want to go to private hospitals, you can get different types of memberships for different hospitals. So I highly recommend for you to look into that and see what option works for you. I feel like the basic cost of living in China is cheaper than Canada. But in China, if you have kids and you need to put them in international schools and you don't have any kind of a tuition break, your cost of living can definitely bump up a lot. Yeah, so those are the costs of living between Canada and China. They're pretty comparable when you have everything included, especially if you have kids. I do feel like in China it is easier to live an affordable lifestyle and find affordable housing, get affordable groceries. Yeah, just have an affordable life there. But of course it depends on what kind of lifestyle you want. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon.